isn't washed into the ditches. Yeah, look at. Hi Cam, just good to see you on the today.
Am I in the right spot?
Yeah.
You're in the right spot.
From 55 Friday.
Everyone's here, but
Can't tell me what happened.
Yeah, and Presque doesn't come, right? Because he's got that event.
600.
Alrighty.
All set. All right. Welcome everyone tonight to the Wednesday, June 7th, Presque Isle City Council meeting. There are 6 of 7 councilors present tonight, and I'd just like to remind councilors, make sure to speak in your mic, speak clearly so the audience can hear, the people at home as well. And if you would, we'll get started. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We're actually going to get tonight started with a proclamation, and that would be a proclamation of Pride Month that the City of Presque Isle is going to adopt, and I'll read it into record now. Whereas the United States of America was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many Americans. And whereas the month of June was chosen to commemorate the dedication and bravery of those who led the 1969 uprising at the Stonewall Tavern in Greenwich Village, which sparked the modern LGBTQIA+ liberation movement. And whereas City of Presque Isle Council and staff have committed to make Presque Isle an inclusive and welcoming community for all residents and visitors, including the LGBTQIA2S+ community. And whereas all members of the Presque Isle community, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual, and two-spirit, have the right to feel safe, not be discriminated against, and to live without the threat of violence or harassment. And whereas Presque Isle is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Presque Isle Council recognizes June as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month. Be it further resolved that the City of Presque Isle Council fully supports the rights, freedoms, and equal treatment of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, and two-spirit people, and to unequivocally show this support, directs staff to fly the Progress Pride flag at City Hall from the 1st to the 30th day of June in the year 2023. Be it further resolved that the City of Presque Isle Council encourages all residents to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists, respect the rights of all people, recognize the contributions and achievements of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, and to celebrate the great diversity of our city. Thank you all for that. And we will move into our next agenda item, which is the public hearing. And our first is the approval for a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license and special permit for music, dancing, and entertainment for Northern Maine Catering, LLC, with a location of 35 Parkhurst Siding Road. And we will begin with the city manager.
Council, for those unaware, Northern Maine Catering is Presque Isle Country Club, 35 Parkhurst Street, is a new application. There are no issues, no outstanding concerns from staff, and it does come with a recommendation to support.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. It is your opportunity as citizens to address the council on these specific agenda items. You can either submit those comments here in person tonight or written online. And if you would be so kind, Kim, as to please give the email address they can reach you.
K. Finnemore, KFINNEMORE @presqueisle.me.us.
Thank you for that. So being as this is a public hearing, we'll open that up. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on the first agenda item tonight? Seeing none, I'll ask council, are there any comments from the city council? All right. And did we receive any online comments?
No.
Excellent. So seeing no comments, I'll close that public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move us to approve a malt spirituous and vinous liquor license, special permit for music, dancing, entertainment for Northern Maine Catering LLC, DBA Parker Siding Pub with a location of 35 Parker Siding Road.
We have a motion by Kevin. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. Okay, moving on to our second public hearing of the night. We have an approval for a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license and special permit for music, dancing, and entertainment for Ignite Presque, doing business as Presque Hotel Company with a location of 436 Main Street, and we will start again with the city manager.
Council, there is a change. They have had a liquor license prior to. The person that on there is, it's basically changing the person that's responsible. So this is a renewal. Again, there's no concerns from staff, no outstanding issues, so staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public here tonight who would like to speak about agenda item number 2? Seeing none, we'll ask the city council for any comments they may have. And did we receive any online or written comments?
No.
Thank you. So seeing no comments, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a malt, spirituous, vinous liquor license and special permit for dancing, music, and entertainment for Ignite PI DBA Northeastern Hotel Presque Hotel Company with a location of 436 Main Street.
A motion by Craig, and second? Second by Jeff. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you for that. So we'll be moving out of our public hearing section of the agenda and into citizen comments. This is the time that anyone, either online or here in person tonight, can address the council about any grievance they may have. So we'll get started and ask if there is anyone from the audience who would like to speak to the city council tonight.
And you don't have to have a grievance. You could just tell us something you want us nice to.
Thank you.
You like nice things.
Good evening, City Council. Galen Weibly, Director of Economic Development for the City of Presque Isle. I just wanted to introduce you to our new DECD intern for the summer. This is Marin Moore. She is coming from us with a political science major from UMPI. She was a former intern with Senator Collins' district office, and so she really decided she has a passion for living in the county and interested in economic development, so what better way than to have her on board with us here. This opportunity is brought to you by ACAP's Workforce Coordination Program. So they offer a stipend for this paid internship opportunity for 7 weeks or 298 hours. This is not open just to the city, but it's also open to other businesses in Aroostook County. So we're really appreciative of ACAP's partnership with this, and I wanted to turn it over if Marin would like to give you a quick introduction and if you have any questions for her.
Welcome, Marin. Thank you.
Thank you. As Galen said, I was previously an intern at Susan Collins' office, and one of my tasks there was reading the paper, and I had read a lot about Presque Isle and their development, so my internship was coming to a close, and I realized I needed a job, and there was nothing out there that really entertained my thoughts of like what I wanted to do, so I asked my boss Trisha if it would be a good idea to contact Galen, and I did, and I came in for an interview, and I proposed an internship to him, and the only downside was I had to find my own funding, which I did through ACAP, so that was a benefit.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Well, congratulations, Marin. That's really cool.
Yeah,
We're
make
definitely
it happen.
have you on the team.
We look forward to your time and your help. That's wonderful.
In your position at Susan Collins' office, you said you read the newspaper?
Yep.
Now, was any particular newspaper, or?
Bangor Daily, Star Herald. I had to clip, well, the task was to clip articles that were a major standout in the county that would be presented to the senator when she travels up here.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Fort Fairfield newspaper that there's a guy that prints Fort Fairfield newspaper over there in Fort?
I've heard of the newspaper, but that wasn't one of the ones that I had to go through.
Yeah, because it's a lot of it's about, you know, things that are going on here in the county that are maybe a little more controversial than what you would find in the Bangor Daily and stuff.
Yeah.
That might be a good avenue to take a peek at.
Thank you.
Well, welcome.
Thank you, Marin. It's nice to meet you. Any more citizen comments for tonight? Yeah, come on up and just go ahead and state your name and, if you don't mind, where you live, and we'd be happy to listen to you.
I came prepared.
Thank you.
My name is Bryn Wilcox. I live in Presque. And this is just, I am the speaking representative of Pride Aroostook today.
Welcome.
And this is just a thank you for the proclamation. I lived in the Presque area all my life. I graduated Presque High School, froze to death playing basketball in the old rec center. I went to Umpy. My family has lived and farmed in and around Presque for more than 5 generations. I was always proud to live here, and I feel immensely privileged that I get to continue living here and now get to raise my family here. I was raised to believe that we were a kind, inclusive, and hardworking community, and I'm glad this proclamation cements that. As a prevention professional, I get to work to build strong protective factors for our young people here in Presque Isle and the county. These help prevent and mitigate health disparities and adverse childhood experiences. According to the CDC, compared to their heterosexual peers, sexual minority or LGBTQIA+ students are more likely to have been bullied in school, felt sad or hopeless, been victims of sexual assault, seriously considered suicide, used illicit substances, and misused prescription opioids. All of these are examples of health disparities or adverse childhood experiences. We use a lot of jargon in public health. We also have data from the 2021 high school Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey to show that these trends are not just nationwide, but also in our own state. According to MIAS data, LGBTQ students were more likely than their heterosexual peers to feel unsafe in school, resulting in at least one missed day due to feeling unsafe, reported being bullied at school or cyberbullied, are more likely to have offensive comments made or to be physically attacked at school because of their sexual orientation or gender presentation. They are more likely to experience intimate partner violence than their heterosexual counterparts, and they have either experienced violence or had violence threatened in their own home in greater numbers than their heterosexual counterparts. There is also a huge disparity in the number of youth who have attempted, planned, or seriously considered suicide. LGBTQIA+ youth are much more likely, 2 to 3 times depending on the source, to attempt or have considered suicide in the past 12 months. Our young people in this town are our greatest asset. And by far, one of the strongest protective factors we have found through piles and piles and piles of data and studies against these adverse childhood experiences and health disparities is a feeling of mattering and belonging in one's community. Young people who feel valued or that they matter in their communities, schools, and families for simply existing are far less likely to turn to illicit substances, attempt or plan suicide, and engage in other high-risk behaviors. As responsible adults, coaches, teachers, counselors, parents, our goal is always to protect the children in our lives and in our communities. These adverse childhood experiences and health diversities that I've talked about are not new, and they are not exclusive to our community. They've always been here, and they always will be. Except now, in recent years, we've made leaps and bounds in understanding how to address them, mitigate, and prevent them. And just as these disparities have always existed, gay, trans, and queer folks are not new to our communities, to our families. They have always existed and will always exist as a vibrant and vital part of our community. If raising a pride flag for 1 month out of the year can help even one young person in Presque Isle feel like they matter, like their community cares that they exist, and that it accepts them for who they are, then it will be worth it. If it stops one young person from attempting to end their life or from feeling unsafe in their school or their city, it will have been worth it. Our young people are our greatest asset, and every protective factor we can give them will only help to further mitigate harm, hopefully keep them here, and allow them to grow into the fabulous adults I know they're going to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Bryn Wilcox.
Bryn. It's very nice to meet you, Bryn, and
Thank you.
thank you for coming to speak to us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it can be definitely, it's a nerve-wracking thing, especially when it's a room full of people. You did a great job, so don't worry about that. And I know from my personal opinion, I hope that Pride of Rustic, Maine, and all over the country, you guys have a safe and eventful Pride Month.
Yeah. Adults are much more intimidating than high schoolers. Believe it or not. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll continue on with the citizen comment portion of tonight's meeting. Does anyone have, or are there any more comments for the city council tonight? All right. Did we get any written or online comments?
No.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments, we will close tonight's citizen comment period and move on to our consent agenda. Please feel free to stay if you'd like. You're also welcome to, exit as we continue on. Don't feel that you're stuck in your seat, but you are more than welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of our meeting. So we'll move on to our consent agenda. And looking at our consent agenda, I believe we can take these all as one item unless there is a dissenting opinion among the council.
No, that's fine. Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented in the packet.
All right, so we have a motion by Craig to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second? Second. So motion by Craig, second by Jeff. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And 6-0. Okay, so that does it for our consent agenda, and we will move right through to our new business tonight. We're actually going to go off agenda for an item and skip down to item 14 under new business, and that will be the approval of the PIDF loan. For everyone in our packet, again, that's item 14, and we will start with the city manager.
Council, this is for a revolving loan fund program that's being administered by the Presque Development Fund. 2 council members are on that, along with staff members and some appointed individuals. Right now we have an individual, Joe Collins, is looking to start a business called Star City Flooring, and the PIDF committee recommends approving for an amount of $20,000 for a period of 5 years at 5%.
Okay, and we'll start, my understanding that is, I apologize, I blanked the name there. Is Mr. Joseph Collins here tonight? Okay. Then we will go to any comments from the city council.
I'll reiterate what we heard earlier, that people in trades are immensely important in our community and in the survival of our ability to do business and to have all those services. And so the fact that this gentleman would like to come to our community and set up a service business of flooring is fantastic. So I'm glad to support his endeavor.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I'll add that I'm on the PIDF committee. We're tasked with vetting and reviewing credit applications to enable people to enhance or build a business. In this case, we're actually building one from scratch, but the gentleman has over 8 years' experience in this endeavor. He could work anywhere in Maine, when I'm grateful that he's setting up shop in northern Maine, because construction and the trades, as Councillor Green just said, we have a lot of vacancies in those areas, and we need to build that. So I think this is a good opportunity, a sound application, and I would urge you people to vote in favor of this application.
Thank you. Any more comments from the city council? All right, with that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we approve a Presque Regional Economic Development revolving loan to Joseph Collins DBA Star City Flooring in the amount of $20,000 at 5% amortized for 5 years.
There's a motion by Craig. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jeff. Any further comments from the city council? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. Thank you very much. So we will back up into old business and continue on with agenda item 7, which is an airport terminal update. And we will start with our city manager, and I have a feeling we'll hear from our airport director.
That is correct. Council, Mr. Wardwell, the airport director, put together a memo explaining where we are in the process of this new terminal project, and we're at a juncture that the council needs to make a decision. So happy to have Scott Wardwell here, but also have some representatives from the entity that's been doing designing this building. So part of this is maybe we want to start with the design. There is a presentation that we have on the screen. It's on, happy to see it's on both sides, so the audience can see it too.
Excellent. And if you would, just go ahead and state your name or what organization you're from, and we'd love to hear from you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Niels Gonzalez. I'm with Hoyle Tanner and Associates, part of the team assisting the Presque International Airport with design of their new terminal building. With me today is AECOM, Sarah Buckles.
Hi, I'm Sarah Buckles. I am with AECOM. I'm the project manager for the terminal design, and with us tonight is Bernie Christopher. He's our project architect as well.
I'll be running the presentation.
Oh, perfect.
So as Martin stated, we're at a juncture, and I just want to, we were last before you in October last year. At that point, we were at what we were calling off-ramp number 1, which was submitting an ETP, BIL ATP grant for the project. And we were asking to go forward to off-ramp 2, where we are today, which is doing schematic design, which will be submitted to the airport on Friday this week. And so some of the stuff you'll see in the presentation will be from that effort. So I have also with us is a handout that updates that one-page handout we did last October to update the dates that we presented, update the dollars as well. In general, the granting, well, Scott will talk more about the grant opportunities at the end of it. So I think I'll turn it over to Sarah to go through the design. I'll be back to talk about siting the building.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to just go through a little history of how we've been working with the airport and the terminal committee to get to our proposed concept plans, and we'll walk through the plans and show you some 3D views of the building, and then Niels will talk about the siting. So Bernie, next slide. So this is what Niels was just talking about, and we'll come back to this at the end again, so we can go to the next slide. So conditions of satisfaction. So when we started this project about, I think it's been about 5 months now that we've been working with the airport and the committee. We got together with them on site, took a look at their existing terminal and how it functions today, and we've brainstormed what we call a conditions of satisfaction that the committee has come up with together based on stakeholders' input and the airport input and TSA input, and these are kind of the things that the team sees as, if once this project is complete, if we've achieved these items, it'll be a successful project. I'm not going to read through all of them. You can kind of see there's some common themes. For one, we are targeting a classic design that really speaks to the city of Presque Isle. We want the building to be functional and able to be expanded in the future as well. We also know that we have a pretty harsh climate up here, so one of the priorities of this building is to be low maintenance and to be able to handle the rain, snow, and ice in the winter. Similarly, we want the mechanical systems to be efficient and high quality. We want to maximize the insulation of the building and use high quality doors and windows. We're trying to incorporate green technology wherever we can. And then we want an efficient heating and cooling system, so parts of the airport that operate at different times of the day can be controlled separately. And then lastly, we are incorporating a backup generator for the terminal so that in times when the power might go out, we can still operate the terminal. So moving on, we looked at some precedent architecture from Maine, and you can see here these are some very civic, grand buildings. They all have a very classic design, repeated windows, brick facades, and we've taken some of these images that we've seen from both Presque Isle, Bangor, Portland, and tried to incorporate similar themes in our proposed terminal building. Next. We've also looked at some other airports of a similar scale. So you're seeing here, this is on top left or top right is the Portland Jetport. We have Eagle County Airport in Colorado on the top left, Plattsburgh Airport in the bottom left, and Jackson Hole on the bottom right. And all of these incorporate a very sleek, minimalist architecture. We've got exposed timber and steel framing, exposed ductwork and conduit. And these are all buildings of a similar scale to what we're looking at. So these have kind of been some inspiration for a very simple design, modern, minimalist. All right, so here we have our proposed concept plan. So this is a two-story building, and what you're seeing on the screen right now is the first floor. So I'll just kind of walk through it. Starting at the top of the page in the middle is the main terminal entrance. And then that top beige band is the ticket hall. And then over on the left in green, you'd see the ticketing counters. So we're showing 4 counter positions. And behind those positions is a bag belt that would take passengers' bags from the ticket counter over to the bag screening room on the left in the gray, and then down to the outbound bag room. Also behind the ticket counters in the kind of light green teal color is the airline ticketing offices. So those are purposely placed there to have an adjacency to the ticket counters and also to the outbound bag room, and they have some views out to the other side of the building where the airfield is. Also in the ticketing hall in the upper left corner is the rental car facility. You'll see that this space has a separate entrance to the exterior of the building. This is intentional so that during times when the airport may not be open, the rental car facility can still be open and people can enter through that door. Moving over to the middle of the building, the big blue block in the middle is the TSA checkpoint. To start, the checkpoint will have 1 lane, but we are showing 2 lanes right now with the intent that in the future it can be expanded if needed. To the left of the checkpoint is the TSA office space. This is purposely on the inside of the building for security and privacy reasons. So once passengers pass through the checkpoint, they would come down to the bottom light blue area. That's the hold room, where we show a total of 88 seats right now. We may be revising this to go upwards of 120 to 150 seats for future expansion as well. On the left is the boarding area, so there's a gate podium and there's a ramp up to a passenger boarding bridge. That's still to be determined if we will have a boarding bridge or if we will continue with ground boarding as the terminal operates today, in which case that boarding area would just be a corridor that goes out to the ramp space. And the intent here is to have kind of a separate boarding area that so that the cold weather doesn't get into the hold rooms when people are waiting in the hold rooms and other people are boarding. So next to the checkpoint is the exit lane for arriving passengers, and then over to the right of that is 2 sets of toilet rooms. So today the existing terminal building only has toilet rooms on the public side, so the new terminal will have a set of bathrooms on both the non-secure and the secure sides. And then over to the right is the inbound baggage room and the inbound bag claim area. So the intent here is that from the ticketing hall, it's a very simple passenger experience. You walk in, you have the checkpoint directly in front of you. Over to the right, you can see the ticket counters, and over to the left, you can see the bag claim. Very clear wayfinding. You'll see on the top right of the building is a separate stair and elevator, and this is also a separate entrance into the building. We'll go up to the upper level now and look at that. So The intent with this is that these upper level spaces can be accessible from the outside without the terminal being open, so they have a separate entrance. The purple box on the bottom right is the airport management offices, so they have a conference room, a break room, and a couple offices there which leads out to the airfield. Jumping over to the middle of the building, the other purple space, that's the Air Museum. So the existing Air Museum in the terminal today will get relocated into the new terminal and expanded. So we'll have displays in that area, both on the sidewalls and in the middle of that space. And then the idea here is that this would also serve as an observation deck, so there would be some lounge seating with views out over the hold room and out to the airfield as well. In the left in green is all of our mechanical, electrical, IDF rooms, another set of toilet rooms in the brown space on the right, and then that pale green is shell space that would be available for future expansion as well. All right, so here's our first view of the exterior of the building. You can see we've kind of taken some of the similar language from the local architecture of a grand civic scale building. We've got the repeated windows, the brick facade, some arched windows. The front gable roof is really giving the building a grand presence as you approach it. And you'll see the front carport canopy allows for cars to pull up directly to the front entrance and let passengers out. There's also a full-length canopy on either side of the carport, so the whole sidewalk is covered and protected from snow, ice, and rain. This view shows an approach view. As you're coming into the terminal, there would be two lanes. So the lane on the right would be a drop-off lane, and the lane on the left would be a bypass lane. And we'll look at the site plan in a minute to get a better understanding of the parking. You can see the corner of the building has a glass entrance, so that's on both sides, and that kind of indicates on the left-hand side of the building, that would be where you could enter for the management offices and the Air Museum space. And you can kind of see the stair and the elevator in the building there. Here's a couple interior views. So this first view is, as you walk into the center of the building, you have the security checkpoint immediately in front of you, and you can see all the way through that checkpoint. Over on the left, you would be able to see the stair that goes up to the Air Museum, which is above the checkpoint. And then behind you in this view would be where the ticket counters are. Similar to some of those other airports that we looked at, you can see the exposed timber framing, the really simple detailing and kind of sleek design that we've tried to incorporate here. So this view is once you've come through the security checkpoint, you're in the hold rooms. On the right, you would be able to see out to the airfield. And up above on the left is the Air Museum. So, you know, the people up there have views down into the hold room and out to the airfield as well. So Niels will tell us a little bit about the site plan.
So this is the site plan. We're our preferred site plan. We've gone through 10 iterations of this, orientating the building, which is in pink, various directions, southeast, south, southwest, in order to try to make because of the weather and the wind in particular, and appears from the north or northwest. So we want to make sure that arriving passengers aren't blasted by the wind. For example, if we had faced it south, the arriving passengers would get all the wind and the cold. So a lot of the existing buildings in this area are faced southwest, and that's for this reason. So we ultimately ended up with southwest facing for the air side. We've looked at a bunch of different aircraft configurations. The way it operates today is a power in, power out. So the airplane pulls in under its own power, unloads, and then loads the passenger, and then pulls out under their own power. That really only works if you have one airplane at a time. If you get multiple airplanes or multiple airlines, you have to do what's a power in pushback. So the aircraft would go in under its own power, and then you'd have a tug to push it out to the taxiway to go. So we're showing both of those. The dark blue is pushback position, and then the lighter blue is the power, power in, power out position. So it could operate either way, depending on the situation at the time. The other thing we have on the land side there, we have 3 different parking lots. The largest one is for long and short-term parking. There's an employee lot next to that, and then on the other side, the side where the rental car is, there's a parking lot for the rental car company. All of these could be, have access control, so you could have gate arms to control, you know, entry and exit of the parking lots. And for short and long term, potentially it could be, you know, if your ticket is less than an hour, you don't pay anything. Or if you're gonna be there long term, then whatever the rate is. So it's set up for access control. The entrance in and the entrance out are for good circulation in front of the building. The south entrance right now also lines up with an airfield gate, so if there's large vehicles, they can just go straight into the airfield. So that's about the layout. Like I said, we even looked at an option down off of Mapleton Road, but most of our options were up next to the existing terminal. Oh, one other thing to note is we're setting the building to the side of the existing terminal, just because obviously the existing terminal has to remain in operation until the new terminal is ready to go. That was it? Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
So just real quick on the project schedule, we are finishing up task 2, which is a project definition report. And then the goal would be to proceed into task 3, which is 30% design. And from there, we would go into 60% design, 90%, and 100% by the end of this year, early next year, with the goal of starting construction in June of 2024. And I'll hand it over to Scott now to talk a little bit about the funding.
Thank you
I have
very
a
much.
question for you. Back up, I don't know if you can back up that other slide with that one there. Everything in yellow there is not presently there. So that's all, that parking apron's all new construction?
Correct, and that's actually not part of this project. That's a separate project that Scott has on his CIP.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously we need it for the terminal.
Yeah, thank you.
I think what I'd like to do before we talk about where we are as far as grants and that kind of thing is to entertain any questions that you might have in regards to the design. Everybody on the design committee is here. Each has, I think, their special perspective. You know, for example, if you wanted to ask some questions about the boarding bridge and the pros and cons of that, Marty Kelly, who is our operations superintendent, he's retired from Bangor. He can speak to some of the maintenance challenges of the boarding bridge. And Kelly Hugh from United Ground Express has some great input on the operational limitations of boarding bridges. And then the overall look at the building. I think we all have something invested in that, and so if you had some questions about what you've seen, I think this might be a good time to answer those.
Well, Scott, I guess the only thing I would say is that having just seen the 1D version of some lines saying, well, this room's here, and this room's here, and this room's here, to see some of the actual design preliminary photos, it's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. I think it exceeds what I had envisioned, but it's not too much or overdone. It would fit in our community.
The thing that I like about it is it's traditional New England. We consider coastal designs, but we're not on the coast. But we are New Englanders. And the brick this building, okay, has lasted for 100 years. And with some nice upgrades that you've done over the last couple of years, it's a very, very nice looking building, very functional. And one of our things of success is we wanted a very, very classical design so that this building will be essentially the same as this building. 100 years from now, it'll look classical and not out of date.
I think that's one of the key points that the presenter made a couple times, is that it's built with a lot of expansion in mind. There's some unused space now, but you're planning for the next 100 years. And it's difficult to forecast what your needs are going to be out there that long. So I think that's a huge point in this, is that you're not going to be adding on something or saying, oh, we built it too small. You know, we know the challenges of TSA right now. The fact that there's no bathroom on the security side, and that we're limited on our ticket counter spaces right now, and even in the rental car area right now. They've addressed all that, but you've also addressed the opportunity to expand it quite a bit in the future. So I think that's awesome.
One of the inspirations for this building is Plattsburgh. And Plattsburgh, what you saw a picture of the way that looked 10 years ago, when it was roughly 30,000 square feet. What's the square footage on this now?
We're at 30,000. You take out the future expansion, we're at like 27.
Okay, so basically it's about the same size. Plattsburgh has been very successful in attracting primarily Allegiant Airlines, and they had to add onto their terminal roughly, well, you guys did the expansion, right? So you went from 30,000 square feet to over 100?
Yeah, it's the expansion was something like 80 or 90,000. It was a lot, yeah.
So basically, it's really interesting that that we're kind of where Plattsburgh was, and we're taking what they've learned as far as expanding, and that's kind of incorporated in here. And Plattsburgh is a very similar community to Presque Isle. Probably the big difference is that it is a lot closer to a large population center, Montreal, but their sensibilities are a lot like here, and quite frankly, they had Pen Air like we did.
So Scott, it's beautiful, very just impressive. If we don't grow, if we stay at the current volume we have now, does it work operationally from an expense standpoint? And then also, what could this grow to accommodate? Could it accommodate 5, 6, 8 flights a day? I mean, the sky's the limit. Because
when we did the master plan, in the master plan, it was using FAA advisory circulars. They came up with a terminal between 20 and 25,000 square feet. This is a bit larger than that, but if you don't include the areas for some expansion,
yep.
Okay, we're at 27,000 square feet. Okay, so we're right pretty much where the advisory circulars pushed us. Okay, for our current forecast, which our forecast was approved by FAA. It isn't lighting the world on fire. It's the medium forecast. It's not the upper. So essentially, we're doing pretty much what the FAA recommends for our boardings. As far as the cost of operation, for me, that's one of the great things about this building, maximizing insulation. Okay, we have segregated various areas and uses in the building. So, like for example, our current schedule, most of the day there's no airline operations. So if I was in this building today, what I would do is I would take, you know, the ticket area, the main entry, and the secure area, and I'd probably in the winter time I'd probably bring that down to 62 degrees. Okay, now the car rental folks who run a business not only for people using the airport but for the general public, well, they're not going to like it too much if I bring their space down to 62 degrees. In the current terminal, they're lumped in with the rest of the lobby. But with this, I'm actually able to bring down the bulk of the building to 62 degrees. The car rental company can keep it at 70 degrees. And so there's actually a lot of cost savings there versus how we operate now. But you have to remember, the building we're in now is about 11,000 square feet. So, so have we done operational estimates? We have not.
And I just want to make one comment on the bridge versus not bridge, and it's for you guys as well. Let me illustrate something to you. A guy in a wheelchair wants to go for a flight. So in front of everyone, I get pulled out of this wheelchair by one or two strong people. Sometimes it's airline people. They put me in a little aisle chair that's like a stretcher. So I get to feel like completely disabled with everyone watching on. Then they carry me up a set of steps, and then over a set of steps. It's really scary and sketchy because I have no control. Then you get loaded in through a little door. You get carried onto the plane. You watch everyone else load. You sit there. You fly. Then the flight lands. You're the first person off, so you get to, you know, get lifted up from the seat onto the stretcher in front of everyone. You go down the aisle. If there's not a bridge, you got to go back down this sketchy stairway with people that are rushing because they have a lot to do. Then you get back to the airline.
Mm-hmm.
If you're lucky, your chair made it. They transfer you back into your chair. There's a big movement right now going to try to make it so that people in wheelchairs, as new planes are being made, can fly within their wheelchair. It's in Senate. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening. We're an old community. A lot more people here with wheelchairs, walkers, all that stuff, than like the average area. So I think if we want to make this place accommodating for them to fly, a bridge makes it possible for me to drive my wheelchair onto the plane, you know, someday in the future when they think about people in wheelchairs traveling and not just staying home. So I just want to put that bug for all you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from City Council? And Scott, we also have to continue. Go ahead with your.
Okay. So what we'll do is very quickly kind of talk about the financing of this thing. This is it's starting to look like about 80% of the square footage of this building will be fully FAA eligible. Okay. So anything that is FAA eligible, there will be a 2.5% local match and a 2.5% state match. Okay, it's really the best deal in town. You're gonna find. So that takes care of 80% of it. The other 20% that is roughly $6 million. What we've done is we've submitted an application to Northern Borders. Kim Smith put that together, and that's been submitted. We have support of the entire Aroostook County delegation. Galen worked that side of things, getting all of the Aroostook County delegation to sign a support letter. And Senator Stewart is basically working with the governor's office, so she has an opportunity to see that letter, and hopefully we're going to have some sort of communication directly with the governor, because the governor, with this northern border, well, it's federal money. They look very closely at the recommendations of the governor. So that brings us down to roughly $5 million, and that leaves us with an EDA grant. Okay, EDA will essentially, that's a 20% match that we typically qualify for. So of that 5 million, 80% would be the EDA grant and 20% would be local. Okay. So I think when you add that all up, I think I come up with about $1.8 million. That would be local airport. Okay. And now let's speak to this FAA funding. Where are we on that? We submitted an application a number of months ago to the Airport Terminal Modernization grant program that FAA has. We were not accepted into that program, and the main reason given is that because we weren't ready to turn dirt this month. Okay. We also submitted an application to another FAA funding opportunity, the discretionary supplemental, and we're waiting to hear back on that. We also submitted this to Senator Collins' office and Senator King's office for congressionally directed spending. The old earmarks is the term, and we were accepted by both Senator Collins and Senator King. So when they submitted their requests, essentially this project, the FAA portion of it, was submitted to the various budget committees. Now, if those two don't bear fruit, then we basically submit another application to the Airport Terminal Modernization Program in the October timeframe. But to keep all of that rolling and keep the engineering rolling, we want, I'm coming back to you again tonight, authorization to spend more money on the engineering. Now this engineering, basically, if we're awarded a grant, it will be reimbursed.
So, and Scott, you said about 80% of the building qualifies for funding, and that of that 80%, it can get funded at 82.5%. So I just want to understand what the city will be responsible for. Will we be responsible for 20% of the part, or 100% of the 20% that's not funded, plus 17.5% of the part that is funded? Or am I looking at that wrong?
No, it's 2.5% of 80%.
So 2.5% of $2.4 million, or $24 million.
That's correct.
And then 100% is $6 million.
No, that's where the other two grants come in. Okay, so you have $6 million that isn't FAA eligible.
Yeah.
$1 million. Actually, 1.25 million of that will be part of the Northern Border Grant. Okay, and the Northern Border Grant requires a 20% match.
Okay.
Okay, so essentially, when everything is said and done, the remaining 6 million, after the FAA portion is taken care of, you'll be responsible for 20% of that. Okay, so 1.2 million.
How
So
about
all
of the
told-
24 million that FAA is paying for? Are they paying 100% of that 24 million, or
No.
80% of it?
They are paying 95%.
Okay.
And Maine DOT would pay 2.5%.
Okay, that's what I was missing.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
No, sorry.
And so, so we have a resolution that would authorize the city manager to reallocate funds to continue on with the preliminary design. There's actually 2 additional steps that would allow us, and that should take us to about the time frame when we probably are going to know whether we were funded through this FAA discretionary funding or whether we were funded through the congressional directed spending. Or you can basically say, well, I've had enough of this and not do anything.
Okay. Thank you very much, Scott, for your presentation. Does anyone, any councilors have further questions for our airport director?
We have funds available for the, that you've identified for the money you're asking for this evening?
Yes, Council, this would be from the solid waste reserve. And so there is the potential, if we are awarded the grant, we would reimburse those solid waste funds. There's also, discussing this with Scott and looking at other options, we could always do a note to do that. But I go back to the conversation we had with the auditor, that if there's once in a lifetime opportunities, if there's funding where you could use your funds to receive other additional funds, this is one of those projects that comes to mind as a possibility. So if we have this sitting in a solid waste reserve for this purpose, with council support, I think this would be a wise one. Now, I think Councilor Chassie had some excellent questions, and Mr. Wardwell did put in his memo, what is the potential of exposure? Exposure, I'm doing it like an insurance person, but it's $2 million on the low end and $5 million if we're not successful in getting some of these key grants. I feel really comfortable. Everyone we've talked to, all the department heads have talked to, representatives and the delegation have supported this project. Mr. Wardwell's done a lot of work to move this forward. This sounds like a positive project, but at any point we can stop. I like how we've been discussing at different checkpoints. This is where we are. It's incredible that we've gotten this far with 5 months with the committee and the help of Hoyle Tanner and AECOM. It's come together really well. I still think that there's more comments to be had, more review, but I was surprised by the response that we got when we submitted that it wasn't shovel ready. I was floored by that comment. So it leads me to believe if we were shovel ready, if we had designs, that we would have been awarded already. So I like the position that we are right now to be in. So I just want to make council aware that's where minimum 1.2 upwards to 5 million that could be the potential cost to the city if we're not successful in all the grants.
So we've been talking about checkpoints, but in your presentation they're called off-ramps. So right now we've already spent $394,000 right now. That's the off-ramp.
Right.
Number 2.
Yep.
And then tonight we're gonna push that number, if we approve these, up to 1.4 million. Right.
That's correct.
And that would be reimbursed at what percent if we get the project?
That would be reimbursed at 95%.
And is that whole total, Scott, is that all drafting fees and stuff like that? Is that what that money's going towards, or
Yeah, it's
all engineering?
all engineering at this point. Yep.
Is that gonna take us to the shovel-ready stage, or?
Basically 1.4 gets us through design development, and then we are not to shovel ready until we get to off ramp number 4. Okay, which would be roughly 2.2 million.
So this won't give us construction blueprints at this point then?
It basically gets, what percentage?
60%,
Yeah.
it's hard to put a percentage number on these things. To most people, this will look like a finished product. And then when you go from 60 to 100%, that's where you refine the details to get you to a true construction-ready project. I've seen projects at that point that were considered shovel-ready. I've seen other projects that are not. It's really what they're gonna define as shovel-ready. I've done projects that were like shovel-ready at 75%. So it's really a moving target. We may be further ahead, as you've seen here tonight. We're further ahead than probably most teams would be at this level. But 60% will give you all of your major plans, all of your major building systems, your structural system. And to the common person or even a contractor, this will look like a finished product.
So you'll have actual electrical plans and HVAC's plans on
mechanical
this?
plans. In fact, when we hit 30% at the end of this off-ramp,
Yep.
you'll have the basics of all that. You'll be able to see, the efficiencies of your mechanical systems. You'll see plans, you'll see layouts, things like that. And, these things have gotten a lot looser over time. We tend to, I hesitate to say this, but we tend to work faster than we did in the past, just because obviously with computers and everything. But by the 30%, which you would see at the end of this summer, after this off-ramp, you'll start to see a lot of those systems.
Yeah. And behind all this, down the road further, is the bid awards and all that stuff afterwards.
Now, are these numbers moving numbers at all, Scott, or is this like set in stone? Like,
These numbers for the engineering, we're in the process of working. There has actually been a proposal submitted by the engineering firm for the entire project. There's been an independent estimate done where a second engineering firm comes in and, without knowing what their estimate is, comes up with their own estimate. And at this point, we're within 8% of each other. We're in the final stages of negotiating the entire project. Once those negotiations conclude, there will be a letter of negotiation sent into FAA for their approval that we followed the process. But these numbers are quite solid at this point. We're within 9%. They've said, look, this is going to cost this much. An independent estimator has been a little bit lower, and we get right down to the number of hours that the lead architect is spending. Okay, and that's all worked out that way. So the numbers are really quite solid. The only place they'll float is at the one of the tasks is what's called construction monitoring. And that's done on a per hour basis, because we don't know for sure exactly how long it's going to take a contractor to build this. Okay, and every time there's a contractor on the site, there'll be a building inspector on site, and that's the way FAA does things. 100% inspection. So they're pretty solid, Gary. It isn't, oh, we're going to come back and up it $500,000. We're not doing
yeah, because I just hate to come back and see this 2,236,000 be 2,700,000 or 500,000. Well, prices have gone up. I mean,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
My only other question for you, Scott, you said 80% is gonna be funded by So there's square footage that is not funded by FAA.
Right.
I would imagine some of that is the Air Museum, possibly? No? Okay.
No, it's, the things that aren't, FAA eligible would be the airline office, the rental car office, the TSA office, my offices, are not eligible.
Okay.
Really, the things that typically, aren't fully accessible and usable by the public, or we're actually charging rent for.
Okay. Well, the only comment I just want to make is I hope you guys are really paying attention to keeping those as small as possible, because they're about $1,100 a square foot that we'll
Yep.
be paying. So.
Yeah, maybe a mobile office or something for you, Scott, would be pretty good.
Yeah, give
You
Scott a
know what I mean?
closet.
For now.
Well, if that's the case, I'll stay in my office. in the old building. But the thing to remember, and I had said this when we started down this road, the vast majority of the things that are ineligible are things we're charging rent on. Okay? So it isn't like going out there and building a public building where there really isn't any source of revenue. Okay? It's much different than that.
If you're gonna stay in your old office where you're at now, we'll try to give you a day's warning before we tear it down.
Yeah, I appreciate
You
that.
know, just in
yeah.
case.
Then I can work remotely, right? I guess.
Thank you, Scott. Any further questions for the airport director?
How much is in the solid waste reserve total?
So with this, it would leave approximately $200,000 remaining.
So to go to off-ramp 4, we would need to find other options for
Correct.
funding. Okay.
I would like to make a comment before we go into a motion. Just give the other counselors a chance if they feel to speak after me. But, you know, I am probably one of the few dissenting opinions on the council here. I think it is a beautiful building and an amazing opportunity for Presque Isle. I do believe it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but I do not believe that this is the best use of funds, even at $2 million for what most people in the city of Presque Isle would need. I think we should be reinvesting in our current infrastructure, and I do not think that a $2 million, certainly not a $5 million price tag, is something that the average citizen in Presque Isle making $13 an hour wants tagged onto their tax bill. I will say, once again, I do want to reiterate, if we are going to build a new airport, there is no better or more fiscally responsible way to do it. And I would not fault any of a fellow councilor or member of the city from supporting this project. I just don't think it's the right use of our funds. And as we move into our vote, I would encourage other city councilors to vote against as well.
Which way are we going?
We can open it up to the floor if we want to go one by one, or if you have any,
It's up to you.
I think if anyone has comments, go ahead and speak up and we'll look for a motion. Good.
I will take the chance to review an internal memo that the airport manager was able to send to us a few weeks ago regarding performance January through April, and that April's boardings have been the highest since the year 2000. And that post-COVID, the airport's being utilized by more and more people. Somewhere in the vicinity of 53% more boardings so far year to date than last year to date through the end of April. And I'm sure, we don't have the numbers for May in front of us yet, but I'm sure they're just about as strong. We have a lot of opportunities in the future, and we've outgrown the building. So just watching 50 people in the TSA boarding area right now, squeeze through there twice a day. It's functional, it works. It could be made a lot better, and I think some of those elements in the new design will be used for a long, long time, long past this council's tenure, that's for sure. So, but nothing's cheap today, so you got to balance the wants and the needs, and I think this is a reasonable way to do this. 5 years or 10 years from now, with the way construction costs are, you could add a few more zeros to this pretty easily in the future. So, I'd urge you to continue investing in the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Jake, I hear you. I'm gonna be on the other side of it. I think we could easily spend $2 million on our existing building, just to make it right. Deteriorating concrete out front, issues with size, just, it's a, what was it, when was it built?
1952.
So it's, you know, 1950, so a 80-year-old building that was never built for the use that we're using it for. So there's a lot of money right now, from the federal government, and everyone will say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to make some big things happen for a community. And I feel like our airport is people's first impression to the community. So the $13, $14 an hour people might not like the increase on their taxes, but if it opens our community up to more people that are making $20 and $50 and $100 an hour, it's going to end up making this a more viable place for everyone, even those making less. So I think we gotta make this happen. While there's a lot of help out there from the federal government.
Excellent.
Well, I just add add to that you know the if you look at Presque today and you look at Presque, you know, even 20 years ago, the opportunities we have today and the things that are going on today, you know, in some ways you don't kind of recognize ourselves. Things have grown, you know, the expansions at the university, the expansions at our community college, you know, even our own library, and all of the things that have become bigger and serve more people and have grown. Our community continues to be the hub of Aroostook, and the opportunity for airlines. I'll just kind of take us back to, you know, when we started this process and bringing United Airlines here way back now into 2018, and we looked at our surveys. The potential boardings are 150,000, you know, in our region, and yet we would garner not quite 10% of them. And today, we are nearly there, and so we have grown over 50% in our boardings just since United Airlines has showed up, and now the negativity in the community that first said, oh geez, you know, we don't want them, we want our propeller plane back, and you know, we were used to them and we went to Boston and all that. Now I have people fighting with people on the internet to support what has happened at the airline, that now they're rabidly in support of the fact that we have lower prices, better service, better connections, and all those things. And so this opportunity, although it is expensive, and no one's going to deny that, I think in the end result will continue that growth of bringing people both into and out of the community, connecting families so that they can live here or other places in the country and do business here and commute. We've even had some folks that we met over the last few years with United Airlines that the stewardess and stewards on the planes to say, you know, I could commute from Presque. I could live here. I don't need a $2,000 a month apartment in a big city. I could get on the plane at 6:30 in the morning and be at the airport and have my work week and come home, and yet, you know, be able to have the lifestyle that we have here of fishing and hunting and all those things. So I think that what was and what will be are wonderful opportunities for the area. So I am in support of it, and I understand completely what you're saying, and I get it, and we want to be reasonable in what we do. But I also think that the growth that will come from this will also help to raise the other boats. And I think in the end result, we may not see, just as we haven't seen in the last few years, even though our budget has increased, our overall taxes in many ways have not, because of growth. And I think this is just another tool in that quiver, if you will.
Absolutely. Any further comments, Jeff or Gary?
I think it's a great opportunity, really.
Good.
Yep. And I think there's lots of money out there, and I think if we get the right people in searching for maybe some more money, you know, that there's a good possibility that we could alleviate part of that from the city. You know, if we can get enough support behind it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with the discussion being closed, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we authorize the city manager to proceed with the preliminary design at a cost of $502,000 and design development at a cost of $541,100 for the new passenger terminal. Funding is to come from the Solid Waste Reserve Fund. Once grant funding is approved, the Solid Waste Reserve Fund will be reimbursed in full.
We have a motion by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kevin. Any further council discussion? All those in favor? And opposed? And it's 5-1. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, moving right along, we will go into agenda item number 8, which is our cable franchise agreement, and we will start with our city manager.
So council, this has been something that's been ongoing for quite a number of years. We started this prior to COVID, but we have been, like other similar communities, have been operating without a franchise agreement with Charter Communications, also AKA Spectrum Northeast. So what this franchise agreement does is it allows a cable operator to operate within the city of Presque Isle. This wouldn't prohibit any other cable company from coming in. They could also enter into a franchise agreement. Obviously, that would be restrictive because the amount of infrastructure that's needed, another cable company would need to operate. So I know you've seen this before in a number of years, so I'll just hit the high points. Through negotiations, council authorized me to work out a deal, and that's what I tried to do.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
One of the major issues is that their previous contract said that in order for them to provide service, they needed 20 houses per lane mile. I got that reduced down to 15. That's with the help of the Maine State Legislature. That's where it's going to be. So they did do some more surveys and did find that they are meeting their obligation, that they are, where it currently stands at 15. But the biggest thing that came about in the past 30 days is that they were awarded a fiber to home project with the Connectivity Authority. And so of the 193 unserved homes in Presque Isle that live on the following roads, ranging from Allen Road all the way to Williams Road, will get service.
So,
And
by
that's a
going
major win.
by going from the 20 density to 15, these roads opened up.
These roads, nope, it was the fact that they were awarded a grant.
Oh, okay.
great.
Yep.
Super.
So we should, there may still be some areas that are not served, but 193 unserved homes, that matches pretty close to what we have through our surveys. So that really resolves a lot of the problems that we've had. Getting cable to these homes is important, and so it's going to be fiber. So it's better service than some other communities have.
Thank you. Any comments from the city council?
I think that's fantastic.
I agree.
Put
I
it
know,
right.
yeah.
So this will go 7 more years, right? Or 10 more years with an option to renew after 7 years.
Correct. We'll be back at the table in 7 years.
All right. I'll just say, I know on my piece it is refreshing to see some movement on this, and I think it came up when I first got on, and here it is again, and boys, do people out there need internet, so
Yes.
that's that'll be nice. All right. I would now entertain a motion.
I move we authorize the city manager to sign the franchise agreement.
Movement by Craig. Do we have a second? Seconded by Jeff. Any further council discussion?
I'm glad we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Absolutely. All right. All those in favor? Opposed? And 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to number 9, we have a lodging establishment license for Martin's Manor Rentals LLC at 42 Winter Street. And we will start again with the city manager.
So, council, this is in reference to our lodging establishment that we've put together the past few months. And we have offered extensions in the past to individuals, and I would like to have the code enforcement officer step forward and talk about the progress that has been made. I'm happy to hear that the property owner is trying to come in compliance, so staff's recommending an extension.
Evening, Council.
Welcome.
Tim St. Peter, Code Officer. So the only property that's left outstanding is 42 Winter Street. The other properties were completed. 42 Winter Street is in progress of working right now. The weather's held it up. Last time I was there, most of the demo work had been done, and I believe Eric said tonight that they've actually started reconstruction a little bit. Of course, the weather again has held it up, and they're expecting to have it done within probably a couple weeks. But given the weather, I suggested the month just to give us some extra time.
Excellent. Staff does recommend approval of the extension, and I would ask City Council for any comments they may have.
The landowner want to talk?
And I know the landowner's here today. Would you like to come up and say anything to council? Awesome. Excellent. Thank you.
I got one quick card. Mr. Martin, you have a lot to say about our intelligence and integrity online, and I just want to question you if it's really all that helpful. We're all good people here trying to do good things for our community, and you're providing a great service, giving people places to live. I don't think it's helpful. Yeah, we are too, and we're giving you extra time and working with you, man.
Thank you. Any further comments? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve an extension of the lodging establishment license to Eric Martin for Martin's Manor Rentals LLC with a location at 42 Winter Street. Code violations need to be corrected by June 30th, 2023.
Second?
Motion by Mike, second by Craig. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 10. We have a lodging establishment license for Clark's Lodge at 22 Pleasant Street. And we'll go back to our city manager.
I would like to have the code enforcement once again give you an update on the property and where that currently is in progress.
Evening again. So on this one, I actually have not been able to do a visit. I did talk to the contractor. Major portions of it were completed. I believe the stairwell, which is a code violation, also dealing with the state fire marshal's office, needed to be enclosed. That has been taken care of, which was probably one of the biggest things that I had for an issue there. And then the upstairs, most of the little things, smoke alarms, exit signs, those have all been taken care of there. So it's really just finishing up the stairwell and the boiler rooms that needed to be completed. And they're mostly done. They're putting the fine touches on the stairwell as we talked end of last week.
So all the life safety code issues have
Right.
been...
These are part of life safety code issues, but they're much bigger than what we've seen on most of the other applications. And these stem from probably a year back, working with him to correct these. So this license has given us a little bit more leverage to get them done a little bit quicker.
Good.
Thank you. So we have another where staff recommends approval, and I would entertain a motion.
I'll get my eyeballs on, hold on.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve an extension of a lodging establishment license to Roger Susi for Clark's Lodge with a location at 22 Pleasant Street.
As a motion by Mike,
Second?
second by Kevin. Any further council discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. All right, that is the end of old business tonight, and we'll move into new business. Our first item on that is item number 11, which is road closure for the Maine State Federation of Firefighters 59th Annual State Convention. And I will turn it over to our city manager.
Council, we were 2 months ago. We received notice from Auxiliary Chief Aaron Buzza that we got selected for the 59th Firefighter Convention. Exciting news. And this is a step in the process, is that we need to have a street closure. So just to remind everyone of the dates and times, I thought it was good that we brought this back in front of everyone. September 9th, start of the closure requested is 9 a.m., ends at 10:30. Like most parades, going to start at Umpy. This is a little bit different than other ones that typically end on North Street. This goes out actually to the fairgrounds. No concerns from any of the staff, from MDOT, Public Works, or the police department. We believe that we have the adequate resources for shutting the Main Street down for this activity.
Exciting.
Done it before.
Done it before.
Daryl, are we gonna run the muster at the fairgrounds or on the street?
No, everything is gonna be done at the fairgrounds, that way we have more room and people don't have to travel. So once we get there, they can stay right there.
Great.
And again, I'm sure we'll talk more about it as it comes closer, but we are closing that street down. That was September 9th. And that is September 9th, that's this year. We'll have all kinds of things going on in the city. So definitely keep your ears open for that, and we'll give you more information as it becomes available. Do we need a motion?
Yep.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I motion to approve the request to close Main Street on September 9th, 2023 for the Maine State Federation Firefighters Parade and Muster.
There's a motion by Kevin. Is there a second? Second by Jeff. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Thank you. Item number 12 tonight is MDOT listening session. And looks like this is information only tonight, so we will turn it over to our city manager.
I know we have put this out on various methods on social media. It's been run in the newspaper twice as a public notice. We're just trying to spread the word since we have an audience tonight online. Tomorrow night, June 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the multi-purpose room at Campus Center at University of Maine at Presque Isle, 181 Main Street. Tylen is going to give a presentation about the fact-finding, what they've had for initial thoughts and traffic counts for our downtown, and look at the scope of the area. What the intention of this is strictly, once they get done with the presentation, is collect public input. What would you like to see in the downtown? What would you like to see for new concepts and new ideas? So this is the public's opportunity. It's the first public meeting that we're going to have for this. So it's anyone that's interested, invite them to come out tomorrow night from 6 to 8.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So again, that's tomorrow at 6 to 8. If you want to give input on the redesign, that is coming to Presque Isle. It's pretty exciting, so definitely hope people at home can show up. The last thing under new business that we're going to talk about tonight, item 13, cybersecurity policy. And Martin, we'll start with you again.
Council, I'll keep this brief. This has been a committee work with various departments and with Eric Warren, our IT specialist, and also Maine Municipal Association. They're our insurance provider. They're the ones that came up with the concept for this policy. We've made a lot of changes to fit the different departments. We've submitted this to the different departments and made some changes along the way. Basically what this does, it protects our infrastructure that we have within the city. And there are some things that staff will have to do a little begrudgingly to protect the system, but it's about being smart with cybersecurity, and that's what we need to move forward with. So this comes with a recommendation from MMA to adopt.
So one quick question. I know when the first iteration of it came out, Steve Vance from the library had some concerns about, because they have their own servers and they aren't connected directly to the city servers, but some of their offerings for the book banks and the offerings and different things of this sort were not connected to the city, but yet they do allow for certain types of access and sharing of information and such like that. And so he'd asked at the time that perhaps that the servers at the library that are dealing with the public that do those interlibrary loans and all those things, that in his reading this, that it would severely compromise their ability to do business. So I got absolutely no problem with it, but I just wondered if that had been addressed with them, and if it hadn't, that perhaps wouldn't apply fully to a library for their servers that are exclusive of the city server.
That is a good point. If one of the head librarian was one of the two people, the key, when we initially showed it to them,
Yeah.
that said there are some issues with the library, and so we did have, on page 3, there's a section that it talks about laptops and mobile devices and remote access.
Okay.
So this would pertain only to ones that access the server. So we have tons, almost all employees have
Right.
cell phones and other mobile devices, but as long as they're not connecting to the
To the
city
city server, right,
then
okay.
it's outside the scope.
Okay, good.
Yep, we had
Yeah.
to, that was a key component that did not work with all departments initially.
Okay, good. Okay, I just wanted to be sure that they addressed that, because he mentioned that early on, and then I'd never heard another word about it, so I assumed it got addressed, but I just wanted to be sure that was known. Okay, good.
Yeah, it definitely required all departments to take a look at this,
Good.
including the PD with every cruiser has its own laptop, so we had
Right.
to make sure that fit that criteria too.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
I do have a couple questions. I was reading through this, and some of them might be better geared towards Eric. But the first is under the email section. It says sending excessively large 50 megabyte or more messages, and that did seem kind of small just to me. I don't know if that's a hardware limitation of the email provider we use or how we came up with that number.
I know right now it's tough to even to do 50's is rather large. Currently, anything larger than 15, we try to do either a Dropbox application or Google Share.
Okay.
So it's unusual that we do something that large.
So if you sent GIS stuff around and several pictures along with it, are we talking kilobytes instead of megabytes here?
Yeah, typically what we do is use the server, put it on the public share drive rather than emailing it around, so it doesn't bog down the system. So, although some departments still email large files, it's convenient just to save it on the shared drive. So, and just direct people to that.
Another question I had was right under there, actually. It says employees must not send, forward, or receive city information through non-city email accounts. And there are some things that kind of fall through those cracks that we might want to address, like if an employee is messaging their boss about their schedule, or some city business that might not be city business that I'm not sure if this does cover, and it may apply to those employees. So that might be another point of interest. And then the only other thing I had was it talks a lot about protected data and how that is a class of data within the city, which I think is fine. I know we use that at my work as well. Who labels that, and is the average employee going to know if something comes across their desk, if they need to have extra precautions with that protected data, because they likely won't know if it isn't labeled?
Correct. I'm glad you touched upon that. Typically, the two departments that deal with this, the police department, obviously, when they're collecting Social Security information or things that are going to the court process that need to be protected, and the other one is HR. And when Maine Municipal Association, when they were designing this, they were designing something that frankly didn't address police departments. They were really concentrating on human resources, where you have personnel files. So those would be the two departments that would be dealing with confidential information.
Cool.
Of course, finance department too. We collect online data where their credit card information that is handled through a third party. But anytime we are handling, there's also the physical security that comes into mind too that this addresses. When you leave your desk, make sure documents that are on your desk if there's stuff you're leaving out, you should lock the door. If you're leaving your desk, you also need to turn off your laptop or just log out of your account. So some of this is gonna be difficult for departments, gonna take the time to roll this out. The biggest comment I heard when talking with different staff members is the passwords. Long cumbersome passwords, but there were some unique ideas that was included in this policy to help people remind that. No one likes changing the password.
Is there, I didn't read all of that part of it, but I mean, are you mandating that they be updated every 2 or 3 months or 6 months or what? Is there wordage in there for that?
Every 12 months, at a minimum, or
Annually.
whenever there's a security process.
Right.
The other thing we talked about that's starting to come out is in a lot of computers and CPUs is the biometrics, two-factor authentication. I'll spit that out. Where that would satisfy that, where we wouldn't have to keep on changing passwords if we had a thumbprint or if you send it to a mobile device in your possession. That's our other way, but I think probably in the next 2 to 3 years, we will have computers that will have that with either a face scan or thumbprint. And then we won't have to bother with keep on changing the passwords over and over again.
It's kind of a unique thing for us, like, I think, speaking for the other 6 guys for once here and Doug. We're sort of employees of the city, but we're not in here every day. And we obviously work remotely. We come to meetings, but we do emails, and we have stuff on our memory banks and everything else. So we're looking at this like, how does this apply to us? But we're actually really trying to enact something that works for the 60-plus people that work within the city day in and day out. So I think all of our comments are directed like, well, how's that going to affect? Like, will I be able to send all my information that I want to send to you in an email, but if it's over 10 megabytes, I can't send it?
Yes.
So, you know,
Yes.
that's,
You can receive it, you just
Yeah.
can't send it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd more likely put in a Google
We're-
Drive
so
or
we're looking
some
at
other-
it from our perspective,
Yes.
and you know, I think it's great for your city employees, but I don't really have too much of an issue with any of it. But I'm trying to see how, because a lot of people and us from time to time feel like we're an employee too. Yeah. So.
Well, I guess the one thing from reading it that I can tell you right now is we can't hire any major presidential candidate or president for the last 2 cycles because they all have confidential boxes in their garage.
Some have more than others.
So,
All right.
so I guess that's going to hurt HR.
All right. So unless there's any other discussion, I would entertain a motion on this agenda item.
I'd move we adopt the cybersecurity policy as presented to us.
There's a motion by Craig. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? And it's 6-0.
To say no.
That concludes all of our regular business for this evening, and we will go right into the manager's report.
Well, Council, my big announcement was was going to be announcing the beginning of our concert series, but unfortunately that's been rained out for tomorrow night. Really looking forward to that, but hopefully to get some end of this rain season. But we are looking forward to the end of the school season for these things to start up and get into full swing. But it's definitely has put a damper on some projects. Happy to see that a lot of neighbors come around for the citywide yard sale on Saturday, not so much on Sunday. So that's all I had to report. But they are looking to reschedule what was supposed to happen tomorrow night.
Excellent, thank you. We'll do some announcements real quick before we adjourn. The Strawberry Shortcake Sale is on June 15th. Do we have any more information on where you go to grab that?
I would go on the Central Aroostook website. They have a lot of information online or on their Facebook page.
Excellent. The Pride Aroostook Festival will be held on June 17th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Riverside Park. The city has the following employment vacancies for a police officer. And we also have the following vacancies for boards and committees. The Assessment Review has 2 one-year alternates. The Audit Committee has 1 4-year member. Zoning Board has 1 3-year member and 1 1-year alternate. The Planning Board has 1 1-year alternate. Rec and Parks has 2 1-year alternates. And if you'd like to apply for any of these boards or vacancies and get involved with the city, go ahead and see our city clerk, or you can just apply online. And lastly, our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Presque Isle City Council will be on Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. We start our executive sessions at 5 p.m. and we will be here in the council chambers at City Hall. Thank you all so much for coming tonight, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Kevin,
Second.
seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Thank you very much, everybody.
Cool, thank you.
Well, it's the Esther, I got him with the Esther thing down in DC.
Cute kid.